Hey, AL.com is going to continue to AL.com. I'm mad and I'm ready to talk about it.
In a world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the book, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's episode 25 of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Five, and a little bit of a switching gears. I ended last show with a rant, and I'm probably going to kick this one off with a rant. But before I get mad, before I unleash, I want to give a shout out to our buddy with love, Ford Stokes with Active Wealth Management. Give him a shout. Go to activewealth.com or annuity360.net and just, reach out to him, and he's going to help put you on the pathway to financial freedom, help you protect and grow the money that you've worked so hard to save and build for you or your family or whoever. He's a big Auburn guy. Show him some love. Tell him War Eagle. Tell him C5 sent you. Ford Stokes, Active Wealth Management. He is that guy. All right, so I teased it at the beginning. I'm not in a great mood. I don't know why Auburn continues to allow this kind of stuff to happen, and I'm going to break down that part of it as well. But Tuesday, I believe, or maybe it was yesterday, Auburn allowed media access to assistant coaches, some of the players, things like that for the first time this spring. And that included a new defensive coordinator, DJ Durkin, who by all accounts, the players love. They're excited about the system. He just super sharp guy, blows everybody away. But he was allowed to speak to the media for the first time since he's been hired. And I'm having a really hard time, an internal struggle here about creating an all-out cyberbullying campaign against this one particular writer, and then B, do I really want to give him any type of notoriety at all? Is that what he wants? Which probably it is. That's what he wants is, something outlandish, shocking, so people will say his name, link his article, things like that. And that's fine. Whatever. Hustle. Do what you got to do. So I'm not going to say his name. It is a writer for AL.com. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to give him that notoriety, but he shows up to Auburn and asks 100% to write a hit piece. 100% to write a hit piece. Don't think he asked another question the whole time he was there, but he goes straight in on DJ Durkin and asks him quite possibly the dumbest question. 7 years removed from the incident at Maryland, 6 years removed from the incident in Maryland, asked him the question and then writes this just completely. It's so wrong on so many levels, this article. There's so many things, and I'm going to break down all the things that are wrong in the article. A complete hit piece on DJ Durkin, and obviously with the intent to hurt Auburn as well. So he asked DJ Durkin essentially, why do you think you deserve a second chance at coaching? A second chance at coaching after 6 years removed from an event that was very tragic, that he had absolutely zero to do with. There's nothing that was ever found that showed that he was the cause of it. He was the issue. As a matter of fact, and I'm going to break this down in the article as well. As a matter of fact, an investigation proved he had nothing to do with it. So much so that he was reinstated. He had to be fired without cause and paid his full buyout. So you jump in on a guy who is, again, you're 6+ years removed from this, and you jump in on a guy who's already been hired by 3 or 4 different entities, and that's what you come to Auburn for. That is the only reason you come to Auburn for. And again, I'm going to talk about why. I'm going to go in on why this is even, allowed. Why Auburn continues to do this, allow this. But That was your only reason for coming to Auburn. You don't care about you don't care about writing about Auburn. You were a Alabama beat writer for 13 years. It says it in your profile. You have no desire to be fair. You have no desire to be truthful. You have no desire to do anything other than write a hit piece. That is the only reason you came yesterday. So let's talk about this article. And I'm not linking it. I'm not giving you the title of it. It's at al.com. You can find it if you want to, but let's just break this thing down. First, right off the bat, in like the third paragraph, it says something like this: Durkin was fired less than 3 years following the heat stroke death of player Jordan McNair, and the subsequent internal subsequent internal investigation that revealed further cultural issues within the program. He was fired after a subsequent internal investigation. No, he was not. As a matter of fact, the internal investigation showed that he had zero fault. There was nothing he did that contributed to this tragedy, not one iota. So much so that after that said internal investigation, he was reinstated. He was reinstated as head coach after the internal investigation that you noted in your article. The investigation you're alluding to is the ESPN article that was essentially almost 100% one-sided. And I totally understand the family's view. I totally understand. I'm being sensitive to that. I understand their point of view, and I understand how it's tragic and it was awful, and how you could place blame there because he was the head guy at that time. But the internal investigation that you spoke to in your article was not the reason he was fired. And you know that. You know that 100%. The internal investigation led to his reinstating as the head coach. So that is right off the bat to kick this article off. It started off with absolute 100% untrue, falsehoods. And that's who you are. And that's what this publication allows to be put out there. Then we go into full, this is who this guy is, snarky, arrogant, trying to be funny type person. And I'm going to cite a friend of mine who had a great comeback to him that put him sort of in a body bag and stumped him a little bit. But he goes to talk about how, Durkin's a great interviewer and blah, 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 blah. And then he rewrites this sentence. So was Auburn wrong to grant this second, third, or fourth chance? And then he did a little strike through on second, comma, third. Okay. I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Carter Bird here. You cannot classify it as a second, third, or fourth chance, because what you are insinuating is each time he was rehired, there was a similar issue that was the reason for the departure. Okay? His second chance was technically, I guess, the either the Ole Miss job or the consultant job with the Falcons. I don't really know which one. I can't really remember the timeline of which one's first. And honestly, you probably could point to the consultant job at Alabama. If you think he was never paid for coming to be there on Alabama's campus, you're full of it. You're full of it. Okay. And I saw you put that out there as well, that you don't think he was paid at Alabama. You're absolutely full of it. And then to top it off with the whole Alabama thing, if Nick Saban doesn't retire, DJ Durkin's the defensive coordinator. And I guarantee you this article isn't written if that happens. 13 years as an Alabama beat writer, I guarantee you this article is not written. So my buddy Carter Bird put it out there and said, you are being dishonest when you say this is his fourth chance. That is so incredibly dishonest as a journalist, because there was no issues at Ole Miss. There was no issues at the Falcons. There was no issues at Texas A&M. All of them were either a coach being let go, him taking another position. There was no reports ever of any disciplinary issues, no reports ever of any similar cultural issues. Granted, he wasn't the head coach, but still, that line in that article is dishonest at best. Dishonest at best, malicious at worst. I do not understand why, and I'm about to transition to, I don't understand the Auburn side of it either. But before I get there, again, this article is full of absolute mistruths. It is a 100%. You do not come. You were hired as this position. You were hired this position as, MasterAL.com senior sports reporter, whatever. You were hired this position last May. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is your first time coming to Auburn. And it just so happened to be when the first time that DJ Durkin is allowed to speak to the media since he's been hired. You knew when you drove here what you were doing. You knew exactly what your goal was, and you did it, and we allowed it, and Auburn allowed it. It's a joke. He shouldn't be allowed. I mean, I don't want to get into the business of banning reporters, but when reporters have no intent other than being malicious, why do you allow it? And I'm going to transfer into the Auburn side of it. I'm just going to go ahead and go there. What is the point of continuing to allow this? Why? We have people whose whole job is to sort of guide and control the flow of sports information. Reporters, there's guidelines when you go to a practice, there's rules and things like that. There's people that are there to enforce these. You knew when you saw this guy come in the door what was about to happen. Everybody did. The other reporters did. Everybody knew it. Why does this why does this seem to continue to happen at Auburn? What are we doing? You left your guy, DJ Durkin, you left him hanging. You knew this was going to happen and you left him hanging. To be asked 6 years later, after an investigation cleared him of all wrongdoing, you left him hanging on the air by an Alabama writer. 13 years. He only just this past year got promoted to this made up title that he got, his third, fourth, fifth chance by his standards, this made up title that he got. You watched him walk in the door and you let it happen. And it always, and it seems to continue to happen. Joseph Goodman was an Auburn beat writer. It was nothing but a continuum from AL.com. It was nothing but a continuous one after another, hit piece after hit piece against Auburn. A guy that's supposed to cover Auburn. He doesn't have to be a homer. But just be fair. That's all we're asking for. You had a guy, Nabijus Wilborn, who was pretty fair. He was pretty fair, and you let him go. You let him go. You continue to have these folks come in and with no intent other than to write hit pieces and put Auburn down from one publication. It's not like it's everybody. It's one publication. What are we doing? Why do we continue to allow this? This doesn't happen at Alabama. I would not be surprised if there was not some sort of incentive given to him to come down and write that article from that side, and you allowed it. Why? This is literally your job. Protect your players, protect your coaches, and you allowed this to happen. I talked to a bunch of different Auburn beat writers, a bunch of Auburn reporters that were there yesterday or Tuesday, whenever this happened. And they said they knew it right when he walked in the door. He walked in the door, no shaking hands, no introductions. He went straight for what he was here for, was to write the hit piece on DJ Durkin. If everybody knows it, why do we allow it? Turn his ass away at the door and say, no, or either say if you do what you continue to do, you're not going to be allowed back. That's what happens at real football programs. Okay? I'm not saying be this dictatorship where you're just trying to put out nothing but positive propaganda, but when it's only one side and it's only negative and it's only with malintent, stop it. Cut it off. It happens at real programs. Real programs don't allow this to happen. Serious programs do not allow this to happen. I cannot imagine being DJ Durkin and being and feeling like I'm completely left out to dry. No warning, no heads up, no nothing. And then this guy asked the most ridiculous formed question that he even said it was a ridiculous question in the article. You sat there and you allowed your coach to be left hanging on the air. We got to be better. You got to be better. If you want to be a real program, this is information is a big piece of it. Sports information is a big piece of it. So do your job, protect your coaches, protect your players, and cut out this garbage. We're tired of it. We're tired of it. Okay? Now, I needed a little woosah, little pressure points, calm down. I got that off my chest. Now, let's kind of move into a little bit of bug action. Talk about spring football, talk about basketball, and things about that. But before we do, I probably need one of these. I probably need a cup of coffee. Need a cup of coffee to calm my nerves, settle down. And if I do that, I'm going to go open up my bag of freshly ground dark roast from plainscoffee.com. Use coupon code BUTTON for 10% off every single order that you ever order in general. Stop going to Sam's Club, stops going to the big box stores, pulling that crusty old can that's been sitting there for months with old coffee ground. It's got to be sealed. You know, you got to do that quote unquote fresh seal. You got to pop that seal because it's been in there so long. They have to like air package it so it doesn't go wrong. It doesn't go bad. That doesn't happen at Plains Coffee. You get your coffee freshly ground just days before it ships. It comes smelling amazing, ready to go into the coffee maker. Check them out, plainscoffee.com. Save big and have some great coffee. And they got tea too if you're not a coffee person. All right, switching gears. I believe we had 2 practices. You had a Tuesday practice and a Wednesday practice. Regardless, there's a lot of positivity that's come out of the first practice back in general. The first practice back, which was Tuesday, tons of positivity. They did a lot of 11-on-11 stuff. I think I'm not sure if we put on some pads or some funny videos of Hugh Freeze interacting with players. And then you move and you have some player interviews. You get to know these guys a little bit better. Lot of positivity. The biggest thing is I think we have a legitimate quarterback battle. I think we have a legitimate. This is not. I don't believe this is going to be just an incumbent. Put your guy in and that was here last year. I think this is a legitimate quarterback battle. Hank's making this thing a real battle. You hear reports of him throwing multiple touchdowns in 11-on-11 full speed action. And then you hear reports of your young freshman receivers starting to really stand out. And then you hear about your transfer wide receiver that's really starting to stand out. Overall, as far as all the new additions, it seems like you're hearing a ton of positive reports from all the new additions. You got a lot of your freshmen are already battling for, if it's not first team, second team rotational reps. They're getting in there, getting in the mix, already in the 2 deep. And then you got your guys that you brought in that you needed to be the guy for at least 1 year. Guys like Jaron Thompson, who's seems like every single practice it's reported that he has an interception. A veteran that you had to have. It seems like he is going to be able to be a factor the 1 year stopgap that we had to have, he is going to be not only just a serviceable guy, but possibly a playmaker. Because it seems like every single practice he has an interception in some sort of 7-on-7 or 11-on-11 type situation. That's huge. Antonio Kite, he didn't get to play a lot at Alabama. He was a very highly rated recruit, just like all of the kids over there at Alabama, that, you feel like if they just get into a situation where they can, the depth chart is a little bit more favorable, they can be stars. And it seems like, by all accounts, he is ready to play. He is a clamp, lockdown corner, and it's going to be between him, Kay and Lee, and Keontae, Keontae Scott. You have a trio of dudes that can cover. You have a trio of guys that you got options. You got you can do a lot of different things with those three guys. So again, it seems like all of the new additions, you keep hearing their names, a lot in all these different, practice reports. And I think that's huge. I think that's huge because that's what the portal, that's how you take advantage of the portal. You find guys that can come in and fill holes, and you're hoping that it's just maybe you can bring somebody in to be a status, keep things status quo where there's not a drop off. It's a bonus when you can bring somebody in who elevates your team. And I think you have multiple guys that you brought in that you hoped could just sort of keep the ball rolling, fill a hole, fill a gap where you got a guy that can, possibly just keep things status quo. But you brought in some dudes that maybe elevate this team on both sides of the ball. You do not have an interview. It seems like you do not have a discussion where they do not rave over Percy Lewis from a personality standpoint, from a frame standpoint, how he looks with pads on, and then how well that he's already adjusting and how well that the offensive line is already gelling together by adding that new guy to the mix, adding Percy Lewis to the mix, adding a guy that makes multiple positions on your offensive line better. So look, I honestly, this is one of the days, one of the spring games that I'm more excited, more looking forward to than I have in quite a while. Not necessarily from a hype standpoint, but I just think that this is going to be a scrappy, good, sneaky good offense. And if the defensive line, these young guys are the little bit of the wild card. You got your Deron Reeds who redshirted last year, who looks incredible. You got your Amaris Williams, who's already in the 2 deep, who looks incredible. You got all these young guys, and then your portal guys, Gage Keys, Trill Carter. You got all these guys. If all this works together, I think you could have a really salty defense as well. Again, everybody's raving, regardless of what AL.com says, everybody's been raving over DJ Durkin and what he's doing. You're going to see a defense that's going to look, I think, a lot like the Kevin Steele defense. Get up in your face, hit you right off the line, especially from the secondary aspect, and just getting after it and making plays. A little bit more aggressive, less drop back in a zone, a little bit more get after you type physical defense. And that's what, even though at times Ron Roberts' defense showed a lot of that, there was a lot of times where it felt like in big play, long down in distance situations, you gave up a lot of big plays. So I don't know. I'm pumped. I'm pumped about it. And it is going to be televised. Okay. I know that. I think the ESPN report, unless Auburn information is just completely wrong, when they announced that the 8A tickets were on sale, in that article that they announced the 8A tickets were on sale, which, by the way, is another thing that's kind of, not a lot of other teams charge for 8A, but that's a discussion for another day. When 8A tickets go on sale, it says in like the fourth paragraph, there will be a broadcast on SEC Network Plus as well as a 30-minute all-access show as well. So it will be televised. I don't really know what happened there. I don't really know. I know we all got mad. I got mad. I know we all got mad over it because ESPN announced all of the different teams, I believe, that would have some type of streaming coverage, and Auburn was omitted, I believe, with only Texas A&M and maybe Vandy. And there was a lot of heated discussion about, very similar to the whole why do we allow this type segment that I just did in regards to AL.com. Why will we allow this to happen? And I think a lot of us are probably going to, it's possible that, we did make something happen. It's possible that ESPN released that. There was a lot of backlash, and then we just made it happen to where we did get some type of streaming coverage. And because we announced that we had released this article afterwards, after the whole ESPN release. So it's possible that we, whoever was in charge made it happen. It's also possible that the ESPN thing was just wrong and it was going to be televised the whole time. Regardless, if you can be there, be there. I'm going to be there. If you can't, it's going to be televised. You just got to have SEC Network, the ESPN app, whatever it is that allows you to watch ESPN Plus. So a lot of good stuff coming out of spring. I think, if I can't, I'm not 1,000% sure if there was 2 practices. I got a text that said the defense didn't do great yesterday. I'm trying to think, okay, maybe there was only 1 practice. Maybe it was only Tuesday, and the defense struggled at times, and it made sense because it's, the other information that we got was Hank Brown, basically lit the defense up. So you're going to have that in spring. You're going to, if the offense looks great, oh my God, I'm worried about the defense. If the defense looks great, oh my God, I'm worried about the offense. So you want to see both sides win some battles, and both sides obviously are going to lose some battles too. So a lot of hype, a lot of positive stuff coming out of spring, albeit even when you have negative articles put out by AL.com. There's a lot of great things going on at Auburn, especially on the actual football field. So we're looking forward to seeing how this spring develops and how this team sort of rallies and builds throughout the rest of the spring. All right, SEC basketball tournament kicked off yesterday. Okay, you're listening to this. This is Thursday. They had the bottom seeds had their face off. You had Vanderbilt and Arkansas, that's on the Auburn side of the bracket. And then you had the Georgia and Missouri. Bless Missouri's heart. They went completely winless in the SEC. 0 and whatever it is, 18-19. That's tough. That is hard. 0 and 19. That is very hard to stomach. Watching 19 SEC games and you lose every single one of them. So you had the Vanderbilt and Arkansas game. Vanderbilt controlled the game, essentially the whole game. Arkansas ties it up. They're close to the end. They go to overtime, and Arkansas wins it in overtime. Arkansas is playing some pretty decent basketball right now. I will be interested to see this matchup tonight with South Carolina. They play tonight at they play this afternoon, actually, at 2:30. So quick turnaround for Arkansas. You play at 6 o'clock last night. You turn around and you got to play at, mid-afternoon against South Carolina, who's a really good basketball team. But, sometimes that's not necessarily bad. I know there's some fatigue. These guys are young. But sometimes if you can keep staying in rhythm, you can kind of stay hot. You can just kind of repeat your motions. And if you got depth and you can handle the grind, sometimes it could be a benefit. If I'm Arkansas, I would have liked to play a little bit later in the day, but that's how, because, Georgia gets to play tonight at 8:30. So they have, they played the late game, so they could play the late game again. So kind of a raw deal there for Arkansas, but obviously we got to keep our eyes on this game because the winner of this game is who will be playing. South Carolina is a 6.5 point favorite. So, could there be an upset? Could Arkansas stay, playing a little bit hot, and could we be facing Arkansas tomorrow night or tomorrow whenever we play? We'll just have to see. And tomorrow we play at 2:30. So we'll play the winner of this matchup tomorrow at 2:30. Again, I've already talked about it ad nauseum, how excited I am for this team and their tournament aspirations. I just think we're playing hot basketball. We're playing good basketball at the right time. And I really don't care who wins the game. I really don't care who wins out of South Carolina and Arkansas, because I think Auburn's going to be favored in both. And again, it could be another double-digit victory. You beat South Carolina by 40, and you beat Arkansas by 30. So you feel good about that regardless. You played Arkansas on the road. Obviously, you played South Carolina at home. So you like your chances both ways. Again, I talked about how the draw was great for Auburn, and I still believe that. So, we've either won an SEC tournament or we lose in the first round. It seems like that's kind of how it goes. I think you had that first little run with KT Harrell, Bruce's first year, where we reeled off 2 or 3 wins in dramatic fashion. And then I think it's been feast or famine, with an emphasis on the famine. So you'd love to go win a couple of games, possibly make a run at winning the tournament. Is something that we sort of struggled with in the past. You had your tournament win the Final Four year, and then it's been a bunch of disappointments. It's been a bunch of disappointments. It's been a bunch of first round exits, even when you've been highly ranked, even when you've won the regular season title, first round exit. So hopefully we get the tie, or we change our luck here, and we get on a roll. So it's going to be something to watch. We're going to talk about it. We're going to recap the whole tournament on Tuesday. I appreciate y'all allowing me to say the things. Hopefully that beginning of that show is the voice of what's going on in your head. I hope I said out loud what you've been thinking, because that's kind of the way I want this show to go. I want this show to be that I'm not gonna say the political things. I'm gonna say what the majority of the fan base, I feel like anyway, is thinking out loud. And I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it gets you fired up. I hope it gets you I hope it just kind of gets you going, gets you back on the hateal.com train, because as much as I hate being like a conspiracy theorist and all this good stuff, they make it hard. They make it hard. They make it hard not to think that. So I enjoyed it again. I appreciate you guys listening. And if you can follow me on Twitter, _Charlie_5. Obviously we're here every Tuesday and Thursday. Like this video, subscribe, so you get notifications when the video premieres. We're going to do some other stuff, like possibly some little short interviews with, players, Auburn personalities, things of that nature. I'm working on all that, trying to make this thing a lot more than just me. I'm sure it gets tiring sometimes just listen to me ramble for 30 minutes. So some different types of content, but because you guys listen, it fires me up to want to do more, bring more to the table. So again, I appreciate you guys listening. Y'all have a great weekend. War Eagle, enjoy some Auburn basketball, and we'll get back at it on Tuesday. This is episode 25 of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.